Namaskar, everyone, and welcome to the fifth webinar by CEO Lounge. And today we are having a conversation on how to stay ahead of the consumer customer behavioral change. It was end of March, and the lockdown was being implemented in all parts of India. And the RO system at home stopped working, and then it was followed by an urgent need of servicing of the refrigerator. Let's fast forward to May, and my wife said anybody entering the home needs to wear the mask, and the kid was given a responsibility of giving the hand sanitizer, and somebody enters, and so on. And the first visitor who entered the house was from the RO company. Now he was wearing a mask, but he said that he will not take our sanitizer because he was carrying a sanitizer bottle. He pulled it out from his pocket. He put it on his hands, wore a mask, and he entered the kitchen, did all the servicing, and then he discarded the mask, the hand gloves, and threw it away. It was perfectly done, well taken care of himself and his customer, and I would very proudly say the brand was Eureka Foods. Now let's go to the refrigerator. The service center guy came in and he was wearing a mask, but he was not carrying gloves. He was not carrying the sanitizer, and he touched the refrigerator without sanitizing his hands as well. I won't name the brand because it could be an outsourced brand servicing as well. So this has been happening. So there has been a customer, how they are expecting a change into this. I also know a famous jeweler in Bangalore who says, the city where I stay, and he said that he will not allow a customer to touch jewelry pieces so that there's no spread of COVID. Now I just wonder, how would you buy a jewelry or clothes without touching or trying them out? Let's take another case. A customer wants to enter a store, but refuses to get thermally screened, would like to enter without wearing a mask. Would the retailer allow the customer inside? Today he may, tomorrow he may not. Will we continue to behave like this for a long time with fear on our mind? Will we, as brands and our customers, will change the behavior? How are we providing customer with safety guarantees that will restore trust? Is there a need to change the brand communication and marketing strategies? What are the major trends in business pre and COVID times? Can we do future forecasting, etc., etc.? And to answer all these questions, my friends, today we have a very notable panel of speakers. They are all exceptional leaders and need no introduction, but following a strict guidelines given to me by my editor, allow me to do so. So we have Amleek Singh, the founder of Chai Point, the man who revolutionized the chai business in India after Modi. Then we have Vivek Srivatsa, who heads the marketing for the largest car manufacturer in the country, Tata Motors. Neeraj Behel, Managing Director and CEO of Bosch Siemens Home Appliances, the brand which so beautifully balances the mid-segment and luxury home appliances. And then we have Farooq Balsara, the partner and the market leader for Ernst & Young, and he advises some of the India's top corporates on customer behavior as well. And to moderate this conversation, we have Sunil Lulla, the man who certainly needs no introduction. He has revolutionized the media industry. He has been in his previous avatar, he's been at the helm of Balaji, Bennett Coleman, Times Television, Sony, and more. And today he's the chairman of BARC, Broadcast Audience Association. And so ladies and gentlemen, friends, buckle up for a very engaging conversation. And Sunil, the screen is all yours.
Thank you and good morning, everybody. I hope you are all safe and well on a hot Saturday morning and staying healthy over here. We have an interesting subject, which is to stay ahead of consumer behavior. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to each of the panelists first with the two questions I'll pose to them shortly. And then we engage in a conversation and take it from there. I know that there are some questions queuing up, so time to time, I'll go pick a few questions, and so we can get the audience engagement going as we move along. We have to close at 12:50, so I'll make sure that we stay to the clock. I don't think anybody could have predicted something called COVID, the lockdown, and the impact it had in India. So the whole idea of forecasting, the whole idea of trying to study behavior has changed. We have seen consumers have changed their media consumption, food consumption patterns have changed. It's become whatever I can get. It's no more what is my favorite. People who are used to reading the physical copy of the newspaper don't always get that physical copy. People who are used to certain exercise regime, I think most of us on this panel probably miss the feel and touch of a boarding pass for which you catch a plane. Uh, that's not happened. So consumers have gone through a reset. Some are interesting resets, they are positive. A large number of people, unfortunately, have left all the big mega cities to go to their villages and towns, which will cause its own sociological and economic impact. So to talk a little bit about what's happening, what we think are going to be new trends, what is the disruption, I'd like each panelist to take two parts. One is to talk of the subject, in a sense, just give their own narrative, and then also talk about what has been their lockdown moment. And since we are talking about trends and forecast, let's begin with the house that does that. I think for a day-to-day living, we will start with Farooq.
Thanks, Sunil, and good morning, all of you. It's an interesting times that we are going through, and like Deepak mentioned, for all of us, certainly health and hygiene is top of mind. This whole underappreciated role of hand washing, inspecting the produce before buying it or washing the produce, the distance we keep from one another as we stand in queues, and how we pay for stuff. Everything has suddenly changed, and the change has been fairly drastic. But in terms of the immediate personal and societal changes, other than this health and hygiene stuff, and I was looking at my bathroom closet today morning, and till now it was always Harpic and a hair wash out there, but suddenly we have Lizol and Domex and any other brand. If some brands are not available, Sanifresh also stocked up. So even the brand loyalty is suddenly change, and there's greater reliance on experts in all walks of life for facts, for insights, for guidance, whatever we can get hold of on WhatsApp or the net. The other big change which has happened is consumers are tending to conserve cash, defer discretionary spends, be it, of course, right now the restaurants and theaters are shut down, but even when things open up, you won't see that happening very quickly. Leisure travel, luxury products, purchases, all likely to get deferred. And there'll be a preference for local origin produce. So if I were to buy a dairy product, I will buy it something which is produced in and around Mumbai, as opposed to getting something from Delhi, because I don't know how good the cold chain has been, what checkpoints it is going through. So the preference will be for local origin produce. But the big change, which is going to be a longer lasting and a irrevocable change in my mind, will be the accelerated use of technology by consumers for a more convenient, more enhanced user experience. And we have all gone through it over the last 2 months. And not just consumers, even retailers have now experienced that. So earlier you will have salesmen from the company or from the large distributor approaching the retailers for what their orders for the day or for the week were. And now most of the retailers are beginning to use apps to pull in the orders. And with the likes of Jio, Facebook, this whole Kirana platform that they're creating, and many other such startups coming in, like Udaan or Shopix, we will see a big change in use of technology as a catalyst out there. But that will also mean that consumers may have to give up a bit on their privacy. So as you download the Arogya Setu app, or many other different apps as you travel around, both within the country or outside, to get access to various things. You may have to give up the privacy that you earlier had, and people may be able to track you down, which earlier was not the case. And the other longer term change that I see is there'll be increased spends on Mediclaim, on healthcare, even in terms of investments in financial instruments. It will be more on products which are more financially secure. So I think all these are radical changes, and corporates will have to really embrace digital in a big way, both in terms of direct to retailer as well as direct to consumer type of models. I'll stop there and can maybe have a more.
Thanks, Faruk. I'm going to go to Neeraj to get. You didn't tell us your lockdown moment, Faruk, before I go to Neeraj. I think Faruk got muted, so I'm going to go to Neeraj. Faruk, you got muted. Okay, you're open now. Could you just
My
start
lockdown moment is every Saturday we have a Reliance fresh truck coming in, so I volunteer for that. So we have a farmers market like thing in the building, and the whole community comes down. So it's quite a interesting moment, and again, it's opening up a new channel for consumer product companies and for retailers. This whole resident welfare association channel, which earlier was not there. So again, a new trend coming through.
Thank you for those trends. I'm going to go to Neeraj, get his overall views, get his lockdown moment. And maybe also, Neeraj, tell us, what are you seeing as a disruption that is taking place?
Yeah, hi, everyone. Hi, all the panelists, morning, and audience. Of course, I'll agree with Faruk that this COVID was absolutely unpredictable and nobody in the world could predict it. And it has changed the world for good, maybe. It was a reset which was needed for the mankind. What we are seeing, consumer behavior is actually significantly changing. Taking a view from, before this went live, Deepak was telling that how people can buy jewelry, without touching and feeling. But Deepak, let me tell you, things are really changing in the country. And I could see that on Akshaya Tritiya, where I was trying to buy something myself online. And when Danish told me that, sir, there are 15 customers for a single bangle, and the amount was pretty substantial, I actually got shocked. And, me and my wife were discussing that how is it possible that, India, especially Indian ladies, they are changing for so good that people are buying jewelry online. So it is very much possible. Deepak, we see it every day. Earlier, we used to think that major domestic appliances cannot be sold online. But when you see a television worth rupees 3 lakhs getting sold online, or my side-by-side getting sold online, which is 1.5 lakh rupees of Siemens. So things have changed, And COVID-19, yes, as you also mentioned, we have to now look at, in fact, we've already done how to protect our consumers, because now the new learning is solved almost 1,000 online, which was never the case before. The customer complaints, our average customer call center call rate is around 1,500 per day. Okay, so approximately more than 2,000 calls were successfully solved, including few very big celebrities online, and customers were ready to cooperate, because he knew if he won't cooperate, his machine is not going to work, right? So customers were cooperating, and this is a learning for me, that we have actually saved 2,000 visit charges, and 2,000, customers were satisfied online by the video, which was not the case in consumer durables ever. For even a screw loose or a plug loose, customer used to just pick up the phone and just say that, send a person. So that thing has definitely changed. And of course, hygiene will be the first factor now. So I was expecting that once this lockdown is over, the main product which will get, see a lot of sales will be a dishwasher. And it came true the moment Bangalore opened. Anyways, we are strong in Bangalore. The moment Bangalore opened, we have beaten a record of 9 years history of dishwasher in less than 15 days in Bangalore itself. And we have crossed dishwasher sales, which are unprecedented, which has crossed our last year Diwali sale. So people have realized that, one, they can live without maids. Ladies are not gonna die without maids. Okay. One very beautiful thing which has come up, that men have understood what is a home work, what does a homemaker actually does, and how much pain it is to be in the kitchen for 24 hours, I'll say. From morning 6:30 tea to late night, when you actually wind up your kitchen, it's a mammoth job for a lady, and whosoever does it in the kitchen. So that has also given us an opportunity that people have realized, and people have started seriously thinking on how to have a beautiful kitchen. If you go 15 years back or 20 years back, the two most ignored rooms in your house for Indians were kitchen and bathrooms. Okay, so bathrooms got changed quite some time, and now kitchens are changing big time. You will be surprised that we have in India, we have people spending more than 5 million, 6 million, and even 10 million on a kitchen. Okay, excluding appliances. So that is the kind of people splurging money on kitchen, and they now understand the need of a good mixer grinder, a need of a good oven, because people have experimented all kind of cuisines this time. So that's a very big trigger point for India. And as far as hygiene is concerned, what we were talking, people, you were referring to one of the organizations. So what we have done, we have already provided 90-day stock to all our 1,500 engineers with 2 masks per day for next 90 days and 500 ml of sanitizer for every month. So we have already procured it for our offices, for our employees, for our indirect employees, for our sales consultants, and also insurance will see a big change. People will go for a larger cover. People will include COVID. So recently we also did that in our organization, that, while renovating, while renewing our insurance, which was due in the COVID time, I made sure that COVID is covered. And, so these are the kind of changes which will definitely happen in India. And market is changing, and we see a channel shift. We see a consumer behavior shift. And even in Bangalore, people did visit stores. They were ordering it online, and instead of visiting stores, and people were trying to visit a standalone store rather than a big multi-brand stores, so that avoid crowds and malls and all that. That will happen for some time, but that will die down slowly. But over a period of time, these things are going to improve. And as far as my moment is concerned, my moment was pretty funny. In the meantime, we had a board meeting, okay, where board of directors need to physically appear, and if they cannot appear, the video has to be recorded. And I was not knowing that this is going to be recorded. I was in my vest and my shorts and reclining, and I was in a board meeting. All of a sudden, my company secretary said, "So we're going live, so you have to come on video." Believe you me, that was the fastest 30 seconds of my life when I got ready. So that was my moment of lockdown. And she actually came online and she was recording us, because that has to be submitted to the AGM.
Thank you, Neeraj. That is so candid and so nice. And we will come back to some of the stronger trends. We could have taken a tea break, but Amulik is here. So we will just take it virtually. I'm quite sure Amulik is going to face a lot of challenges given the lockdown situation for us consumers, but we'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everyone. Great to be here. So, Sunil and rest of the panelists, I mean, just to share our perspective, we are a young company. We are trying to figure out this scenario. It's a highly unprecedented scenario. I think foremost, this scenario has allowed us to focus on the basics. Obviously, there is an immediate impact on revenue, and that can't be helped till the time the lockdown is fully over and people actually walk over to the stores. We will not see those kind of sales. But our online delivery sales, just to share a perspective, for the set of stores that we could open, because many of the stores came down into severe lockdown zones, our online sales have reached about 65 to 70% of the pre-COVID era for the same set of stores, which especially if I look at the trust factor, which is hugely important in the F&B category, is broadly encouraging for us. So to share as to how we are thinking through on our execution plans, we are primarily doubling up on delivery. Our goal really is to ensure that our offerings on the online store increase dramatically. We are fundamentally a beverage anchored business, but now we are making a deeper foray into food simply because we are realizing that work from home scenario calls for an additional level of convenience, which the F&B players like us can offer. So traditionally, our sales have been highest on Saturday and Sunday, and they've been going to homes. I'm talking about our delivery sales. But now, work from home being the core scenario for our customers, we've realized that we need to increase our offerings so as to solve the convenience problem for people living at home. I think Neeraj also alluded, there was a big period when even maids were not allowed, and the amount of workload that specifically the ladies of the house, but now more so even men experienced around food making is something that all of those customers are looking forward to solve. So even in this lockdown, we introduced 10 new food products. We are actually launching 5 more food products in the next 1 week. So our food stack will go up. But fundamental to our business has been really communicating trust around safety and hygiene. Our very genesis as a business model lay in giving a hygiene, high quality, consistent experience to the customer. Chai has always been around for ages. So that was the core thing that we differentiated with. But I think this crisis has made us realize that with time, we can't forget that core value and we need to amplify it a lot more. So we recently got our second year renewal of ISO 22000 certification, which is one of the highest safety standards. This is the second year. We initially went for it thinking that it's a part of our legacy and that we need to keep on building on it. But the COVID experience has made us feel that it's not only just a placid legacy, but a very key competitive differentiator where we need to explain to our customers, communicate to our customers that safety is something which is systemically embedded in our company and not something that we are trying to embrace as a marketing gimmick or as an immediate survival tactic in these times. So safety has been our prime thrust, really. I will not spend time talking about liquidity measures, but frankly, for companies which have such a spread of retail as we do, we of course have 40% of our business on the B2B side. Liquidity was the most important aspect towards which we spent the first, I would say 15, 20 days in protecting ourselves. We are here for the long term. So thankfully we were well buffeted with cash, but most importantly, after that, we latched on to safety measures. So we had a campaign called GMTS, which is gloves, mask, temperature taking, and sanitization measures. So in week 1 of lockdown, we introduced GMTS 1.0, where we quickly made sure that in spite of supply chain challenges, all our staff has these measures. And then we jumped on to GMTS 2.0, now where we are really changing the use of technology for walk-in customers to make sure that, it's a complete contactless experience. There is a lot of focus now on design. To give you a simple example, we've got 175 stores. How do customers, when they walk in, open the door of the store without even touching it? So we can, of course, take a call to replace it with a sensor-based technology, but we can only do it for a few set of stores, and it's also a very expensive investment. But we could do a lot of changes to the design so that the customer doesn't have to touch the door to open it, So design and GMTS, our core safety program, has been a big thing. Investing in our store staff or partners, Neeraj also brought it up. All our partners, the entire company is covered by COVID insurance, but we also took this opportunity to introduce a term insurance plan, which was not in place for every member of the company. Because first and foremost, we felt that our staff needs to feel safe and embrace operations under these environment, and only then they can really wholeheartedly give a level of confidence to the customer. Last very quick point has been technology. Technology is going to be embraced in a very rapid level. Online delivery, all of us are aware, was growing at a very rapid rate. But I think what will come out now, and we are not seeing it, of course, because stores haven't started opening, but my conviction is that in the next month and a half to two, we will see a new wave of technology adoption inside the store. So how do you order without interacting with a cashier? I personally feel that the cashier role is going to be pretty much made redundant in the new times, or if not completely redundant, hugely compromised. In-store use of technology to deliver customer confidence is going to be another big thing. So, this is just to quickly summarize what's happening in our world and what we are seeing. Talking about my lockdown moment, I think the most surprising part, intriguing part has been the way the teams got integrated across the company. I'm of course giving a professional context, but I never thought that a company which is as small as ours, but still spread across 7 to 10 cities, would get so tightly integrated using Zoom. To be candid, I don't think people were as close amongst themselves or behind the details of the execution plan or the strategy of the company as they became during that crisis. So the power of online video engagement, Zoom or Google Meet and all these platforms to really bring people together in a very, very short while has been a big moment for me to really appreciate. It comes with its stresses. We all know we are sitting in front of the screen for 8 to 10 hours. But if you just take a step back and just appreciate how it has made everything so transparent and fast, it's quite amazing. So that's it from my side. Sunil.
Thank you, Amli. Thank you. I did not know that you had such a large food basket too at Chai Point. It's given me an option to order today. Thank you for that. I don't think, I've been as excited in my life, Vivek, as it's been to get into my car and go half a kilometer to maybe pick up 2 loaves of bread, right? Complete waste of petrol. But it's the pleasure of driving. And exactly. I know that, there are people who've broken rules and there are cars taking people to their hometown where they are, right? I'm sure there's something very interesting that you have to talk to us about mobility.
Absolutely.
And of course, the lockdown movement, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Sunil. Yeah, I think personally, like everybody else on the panel have said, unprecedented times, lots of learning. And for me personally, two things have stood out, a deep realization that how little we really need to get by, on a daily basis, how we have consistently cluttered our life with gadgets and brands and articles and many stuff. I think that is kind of unraveling pretty rapidly, and deep realization that you can actually have a pretty contented, pretty full life with far less. I think that is really settling in personally for me. Also, another thing that Neeraj and Amlik spoke about, a deep appreciation of what happens at home. I think we men folk have to actually put up our hands and accept that we've been kind of insulated and kept ourselves kind of, willfully blindfolded to what's happening and let that part of our lives just carry on. And I would say with little appreciation. I think now far more appreciation to the homemakers in our lives, and for women who manage both the home as well as their careers. I think no amount of appreciation, no amount of admiration is less. And these are two personal takes I want to put in front of the panel. In terms of industry, I think Sunil, you verbalized exactly what was my thought. A car industry and automotive industry is very much touch and feel, and we call it seat of the pants. There's a pleasure when you sit behind the steering wheel, a power that is unleashed. And to see cars lying idle for months upon, and kind of becoming absolutely redundant in a customer's life is a little painful. And it kind of also creates an appreciation for customers, because the lockdown is a very antithesis of what the romance of automotive is about heading out, the freedom of exploring, freedom of being with families. I think that element has been slightly underrated so far, and that has really come out today, that customers have started feeling that I need a car for two reasons. One is, of course, to transport me from A to B, but also there's a little bit of softer aspect to owning an automotive, and that kind of comes out very strongly. Looking forward, I think there's a clear need that people would want their own personal safe bubble going forward. Um, Surveys and studies across the world have shown that there's going to be an increasing preference for personal transportation. I think that would be clearly seen in India as well. People would want to travel in their safe bubble and have more predictability, have more control over their safety. So broadly, we are working on this direction, how to make car ownership much more democratized. How do we make it easily accessible? We are working on much, a differentiated kind of ownership cycles, be it probably subscription models, a low EMI approach, so that people can get into that ownership cycle very fast. In terms of safety, I think I can proudly say that Tata Motors is one of the manufacturers who have always put safety right up front. We put money behind the claim. We prioritize safety in our cars. And when I say safety, this is on-road safety. We were the first 5-star global NCAP rated manufacturer in the country when we came out with the compact SUV Nexon. We followed it up with a hatchback as well. And today, consumer awareness of safety is really shooting up. So under the umbrella of COVID, an overall sense of safety, a heightened awareness of safety among all of us and across all strata of society is very, very visible. So I think intuitively, since Tata Motors is so aligned with safety, there's going to be clear preference in terms of our brand is what we estimate. And we are going to live up to that as well. Continue to put money behind our positioning, like we did in the engineering side in terms of how well our cars are made. We have extended the same into the COVID situation. Also, there's a realization that a big part of the consumer buying journey of automotive, in the past, it was extremely physical, physical face-to-face interaction. Both as organizations as well as consumers, we've realized that a lot of it can be digitalized. A lot of it can be, not face-to-face, but can be done through remote. So we are really working on technological intervention to make that possible. Can we do a virtual showroom? Can we do a Skype call between a customer associate and a customer to, kind of take care of all his doubts and minimize the physical contact? And when the physical contact happens, obviously, Tata Motors as well as the auto industry has rolled out extremely stringent SOPs across every step of the customer journey. As I said, it's a very, very physical interaction with automotive. Right from the time you drive the car, multiple people drive the test drive cars. There are a lot of crowds in our showroom. So every element has been really taken care by Tata Motors as well as the industry, and customers will experience this digitalized kind of a buying journey, a much more safer physical interaction, and also a movement of the sales experience away from the showroom to a physical digital world, and probably at the customer's place of choice, where he wants to conduct a transaction. So huge changes, I think, coming up in the automotive industry thanks to COVID, but I believe it's all in the positive way. These are probably disruptions which have happened over 3-4 years, and it's all been accelerated now for the greater good. In terms of my lockdown moment, so I like to be, I'm a bit of a fitness fanatic, and I was really feeling cooped up inside the home, like what Sunil, you started off. And one day I just decided to make a running track around the house. And I ended up running about 25 kilometers within the house.
Wow.
And that really opened my eyes up to the kind of mental barriers we create ourselves and how we are victim to that. And it's really opened up my mind that anything is possible with limited resources. And that lesson will stay with me for a long time.
That's amazing. 25 kilometers, I'd get vertigo if I ran that in that fashion. So, just as we go through this conversation, to tell the 300 plus participants who are listening to all of you, that I will pick up the questions that they have been asking and they have been queuing up, and we will pick them up. I'm an optimist. I believe as business leaders and the nature of businesses we have on this panel, we would like to see the economy bounce back. We'd like to bring consumer demand and customer demand both back. Farooq's business may not have consumers, but it has customers, right? Whereas the other businesses definitely have consumers. So I want to talk a little bit about what you think you are going to do to bring back that confidence. You mentioned trust. Somebody mentioned practices. Somebody said that, there's been a change because of hygiene. Now someone's buying a dishwasher, the convenience of it. But what can you really do in the next few months to stimulate demand, to create that change? And if it's not your own personal experience that you may want to talk about, what do you think other brand providers, service providers, companies should do? This is open and we'll go around with whoever wants to go first. Farooq, you're on mute. Let me unmute you.
Yeah, I think, as I said before, the big change is to embrace digital, both in terms of what you do in-house within the company, your backend, as well as how you serve your clients, customers per se. So on both ends, you have to really accelerate the use of technology, create alliances with startups, again, both for the backend as well as the front end customer serving part. That's to me is the biggest change. There are of course many others in terms of creating a resilient supply chain, cash flow management, but digital thinking of digital possibilities, digital first will be the biggest change in my mind.
All right. Neeraj?
And yeah, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Marketing will see a big change. We've also, in our organization, when we post-COVID, obviously every corporate came up with only one thing, the best case scenario for the balance of the year, for the worst case scenario, the real case scenario, optimistic scenario, pessimistic scenario, this scenario, that scenario. So under that, we realized one thing, that marketing, yes, will definitely take a setback, especially in the newspapers, and brands are not going to go very high on TVC, and spending huge monies. But yes, we have increased our budget by 5 times at least on digital. And digital, one, it is cheaper. Second, it is the latest fad. And third, it is easily reachable to the consumers you want to target. So digital will definitely see a big change, and people would like to spend their monies very, very wisely on digital. That's the new thing what I definitely see in the future. And as far as demand is concerned, of course, we have to make sure that our logistics in place and our now material is properly spread, because post GST, companies had actually reduced warehouses and godowns. And, we were mostly operating from central kind of warehouses in top 3 cities like Mumbai, Chennai, and Delhi. So in COVID, we realized that, now when we immediately need material in Bangalore, it was not there. So if we need immediately material in Calcutta, we need there. So now products like, as I spoke earlier also, dishwashers and maybe front-loading washing machines and mixer grinders and so many other appliances, we have to make sure that they're widely spread in the country, because we have seen demand from tier 2, tier 3 kind of cities for even inbuilt ovens and dishwashers, just to give you a very good example, a place everybody must have heard called Nanded, okay, which is such a small town in Maharashtra. One of our dealers has sold 78 dishwashers, wherein he has not sold 7 in his lifetime. So it was unthinkable for us to have a stock ready for a place called Nanded, 78 dishwashers. So that's an eye opener for us. So now we'll make sure that the stock is available in Pune. So that is kind of planning will change a bit. And we are already working on that. So, and marketing will go digital big time, and channel will go online big time.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to add to that?
Yeah, let me here. Let me make a few comments. So, couldn't agree more that digital is going to get accelerated really, really aggressively, both on customer experience or customer interaction related digital channels, and also on the marketing / advertising channel front. But I think for us as a company, and quite likely this is true for many companies, especially on the consumer front, on the omni-channel consumer front, is that the whole notion of how our employees work, what is the definition of employee productivity, what is the new definition of their job role, and how teams need to really engage with each other to get things done, is a completely new arena. And I think this is going to get accelerated like crazy. I think companies such as ourselves have already embraced agile as an approach to really make things get done, essentially by the power of small teams. But the whole definition of employee productivity is going to really be redefined. To give you an example, retail. I alluded that if you go to any store, QSR, or even if it's an apparel store, there was always this glorified cashier role. All the employees seem like junior minions doing the servicing, while there is this guy seated on a desk with a tie and, basically just cutting out a bill for you. And he was the senior guy. That role is going to be completely redundant. And I hope it becomes redundant, because you need to spread the notion of job responsibility in a very, very different way now. And we are already sketching out the new customer experience for our stores. But this is really happening across the company, right from the supply chain, back end, and it's going to affect each and every part of the front end channel, be it our dispenser business, be it our online deliveries or packaged products. So employee productivity and how teams and employees work may sound like a very boring, operational, somewhat, opaque kind of a topic. But frankly, for companies, this is where the real action is going to be, because consumers are not going to know of the new way of working unless and until companies really give them an opportunity to see that. And not every company, surely a small company of our size, we are not going to be able to spend crores on a digital ad spend to give customers a view of what their interaction is going to look like. So quite likely, it's going to be built incrementally as customers start engaging with companies like us, and the word of mouth travels that, wow, this is the new experience. And that's going to be made possible through employee training and employee productivity. So I'm really quite intrigued and energized around the prospect of that.
So Vivek, there are many questions for you specific on mobility.
Okay.
But go ahead and say what you want to say.
Yeah, very quickly, probably. I mean, you spoke specifically about demand generation, but I think the need is now to take the product to the customer. I think we cannot be sitting back in our stores and in our physical locations waiting for the customers to come. Demand generation has to be at the point where the customer is. Whether we do it digitally, it's a combination of physical, digital. That clearly is a way forward. Of course, there'll be some initial demand now, immediately after the lockdown is lifted. But in terms of overall trend, we see the customers expecting things to come to them. So that really would be the challenge. And that is where we're going to focus all our technology, marketing monies, and even other infrastructure elements.
So I'm going to integrate some of the questions because it will be easier rather than go through the audiences asked, the other participants have asked. So this I'm integrating for both Farooq and Neeraj because it's on current manufacturing. It says that in the last 2 months or so, manufacturing has not really picked up. It's very, very, very small. Do you not see this as a big opportunity in consumer demand, or because it's got deferred, so therefore people want to acquire more? And during lockdown, consumers are also looking at alternate buying channels. I think we spoke about it a little earlier. But India is a country of shopkeepers. We like that transaction. So what changes do you see happening within your own sector and within other sectors of both of these, manufacturing and consumer?
I'll go first.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, manufacturing was disturbed. And in fact, I also opened my plant a week back in Chennai. And so two good things have happened. One, there's a lot of stock ease at the trade level. So partners have really sold the material during these days wherever they've opened, but they've not bought from us. So I see this as an opportunity. There will be a surge. So we are seeing wherever it is opening, like a small place like Goa, which opened some 10 days back. And the kind of sales what we saw in Goa were unprecedented. And selling 100 units of company like Bosch and Siemens in less than 24 hours was unheard of in Goa. Okay, so maybe the demand was accumulating, people were waiting for it. And of course, fortunately, we are into a segment where the effect of lockdown, even after lockdown, is not much, because we deal in premium and luxury segments like Bosch, Siemens, and Gaggenau. So people are waiting for things to start, and there will be a surge, I see, definitely in the products. But that's going to be, and that's not going to remain forever. There will be a lull for sure, because overall mood is down. So overall, if you see 12 crores laborers losing their jobs, and so many companies are laying off people, that's mood is bad right now. And on a lighter side, Amulik, your cashiers must already be having a sleepless nights on all the chai points that CEO thinking is that. So, but yes, that's going to change, and that is going to give us actually a new way of thinking how to design our new offices. We were not even looking at the space, whether 30% space will open or not, whether nowadays you can't even open your windows. So these things are definitely going to change, real estate, and our preference for office designing, and now I'm actually thinking, a lot of companies must be thinking, all of you guys, that there are so many jobs which can actually be done from home and back end. There was no need. So, and there are a lot of, there is a lot of teamwork which is possible online. We've launched almost 3 new projects in 60 days, 4 new projects, completely online with the help of the team, So that's possible. So there can be a reduction of roles in future. I'll be very candid about it. And there will be a new way of sitting in offices, and the way people sit and the way people design their offices. And a lot of back-end jobs now can be made off-roll, okay, and can be actually done from home or a laptop from wherever you're sitting, even from a cafe. So that's definitely one change which I see coming, and it is inevitable.
Farooq?
Yeah, on the manufacturing side, even before COVID happened, we were seeing some signs of recession and cost pressures across many segments out there, including automotive. And so many companies had started adopting digital technologies in manufacturing and creating what we call as a smart factory, where technology is really used for preventive maintenance or smoothing the flow of material. So that journey will now get definitely highly accentuated, accelerated out there. The concentration risk is going to be looked at very closely, be it on the vendor side. Are you relying very heavily on 1 or 2 vendors, particularly if they happen to be from overseas or from China? So you will want to explore multiple vendors, and even on the customer side, you will want to broad base your customer base out there. So The other big change, as I mentioned in my introductory remarks, one is, of course, the new direct-to-consumer or at least a customer engagement channel. Even if it's not directly a selling channel, you will want to engage with your customers directly as opposed to the normal distributor retailer route. And the other big change, like Sunil mentioned, Indians will still prefer to shop from their neighborhood kirana store, but companies will increasingly approach the retailer directly. They may set up call centers as opposed to having a large sales force which will go knocking door to door. So that part, again, technology will come in, or they may create apps where retailers can directly pull in products. So clearly, both on the manufacturing as well as on the distribution and the sales side, there'll be big change. And again, it will be leveraging technology and startups in a big way there.
So thank you, Faruk. Vivek, there are quite a few questions on automotive. Obviously, it's a category of great interest. So I'm going to just list them down. Do you intend as a company to take sustainability into account? People will take less personal transport. Is the demand for the second car in the home going to go up? Is this going to be a reused car or a new car? What happens to all the luxury segments? And how do you then deal with the potential of the rural market, which has seen an impact with a lot of people coming back from the mega cities over there? So a lot of questions around cars. Maybe you want to give a view on this.
Sure. So I'll start with the first question, the sustainability part. So when we obviously the fuel choice will become a key element of sustainability. Electrification is definitely one of the possibilities and distinct possibilities and directions for the future. From Tata Motors, we already have 2 cars in the electric portfolio, and it's going to continuously increase. Alternate fuels like CNG also will come in. With government regulations also kicking in the future, I don't see an increased automotive presence impacting the environment or sustainability in a negative manner. If anything, it might be on the positive side, actually. In terms of the demand for a first car or a used car, yes, I think there will be parallel demand for both. We'll see an increased demand for used cars as well, more so in the smaller towns. It will also be the resurgence of the smaller towns. For the last couple of years, we've seen the entire industry growth coming in from the smaller towns, and this, I believe, will be hugely accelerated. In the larger towns, we have the luxury of having a little bit of a better, public transportation infrastructure, but smaller towns is purely dependent on personal transportation. So we'll see a further acceleration. From Tata Motors side, we will focus, we'll have an enhanced focus on the, I won't say rural India, but probably the towns, B and C class towns, in terms of extending digitalization even there. Fortunately, our mobile networks and internet availability has really moved very fast. And this is one time I think all of us have to acknowledge that the digital payments have really helped us. I can't just imagine how this scenario would have been without the digital payment infrastructure being well settled in the country. So I think the next step is to make loans available digitally, reduce the paperwork, reduce the documentation. There's a clear call out to all the financial institutions to make their entire process much more simpler, faster, and digitize it. And that will really help, not only automotive, but access to various other, elements easier in the smaller towns. In terms of the question on luxury, I think that is a luxury products, not only cars, but products have seen that they follow a different path, which is largely not in line with the general populace. And I think that will continue on its own way. If anything, the luxury car makers will be far more conscious in terms of being environmentally sustainable and providing cars which really are eco-friendly, I would say, alternative fuel options, electrification. So I think that, again, would follow its own path in terms of demand, but not necessarily at the cost of sustainability. So I hope that answered the question, Sunil.
Yeah, it did. Have any of you observed a change in your consumer behavior, in these 2 months, which is now not going to come back? So there was a habit pre-COVID, and during COVID, something has changed. I'm not talking of temporary change, right? The adjustments we've done, but have any of you seen a change in behavior which is not going to come back, which is therefore a completely new consumer behavior? Anybody?
I think, we are at a stage where, frankly, at least in the QSR space and dispenser space, which is a B2B office arena, we haven't really seen the customer demand opening up. We haven't really experienced how their behavior is actually going to change. One thing is very clear, though, that the adoption of F&B delivery, especially as the element of trust gets built up over a period of time, is going to be a lot more stronger. From a convenience angle, foremost, we need to understand what is the problem that delivery is going to solve. It's going to save time for people at home. It was glamorous to do all the cooking during the first 2 months, but frankly, with the level of work pressure that everybody has, nobody wants to spend 2 to 3 hours in the kitchen and also quickly get back and get on Zoom calls and office calls. So we are yet to see the full impact, but the initial indicators seem to drive a higher adoption of online delivery, food delivery.
Thanks. For Farooq, Vivek, Neeraj, and Farooq, more from an industry point of view, fixed costs, right? They don't go away. Therefore, they're called fixed costs, right? And in manufacturing, especially where Vivek and your entities have large manufacturing base, how are you going to cope with this fixed costs over time now? And what is the industry at a larger level going to do to handle this?
Okay, I'll start. I think when we've already started working on this, and it's no short solution. We begin with being extremely clear that, in fact, our approach is there's nothing called a fixed cost. Everything becomes a variable cost, and start right from the reason why the cost exists. And that's the approach we are taking. Slightly radical, but I believe that's the right way to go ahead with it. Second is to spread the cost around also. I think value chains, the way they have been traditionally made, have to be completely relooked at, and like I said earlier, fixed costs might actually have to be restructured in a manner where they can either be shifted to a variable cost or spread over a larger period of time. These are the two, especially in terms of automotive, because we are an industry which focuses a lot on the future. Lead times are huge. To bring out a car, it takes anything between 3 to 4 years, and about 1,200 to 2,000 crores. So there's no way that we can run away from these kind of numbers. And the only solution is to completely relook at the value chain, the reason a cost exists, and how do you kind of spread it across various elements to kind of soften the blow.
I think companies will have to now learn to live with lesser real estate. So like Amulik mentioned, if the cashier is no longer required in a shop, you're that much freeing up that much space which the cashier's desk was occupying needlessly. So be it in offices, be it in factories, as things become much more nimble, agile, you can definitely look at freeing up a lot of real estate, which was just there, but you never really question it. Even a professional services firm like EY is relooking at that. The other big thing which we'll see in India is variabilizing compensation, people compensation, and we'll see a much sharper focus on performance management and compensating people based on performance. So if right now it's like a 80-20 fixed versus variable, you will see a shift almost towards a 60-40 or even more out there. So that's another way you can really manage your fixed costs.
Neeraj.
Same, I think I agree with Farooq. that variable part is going to go up, and companies will focus KPIs, especially for sales and marketing guys, more on performance-driven things, so that this will actually help in reducing fixed costs. And companies have to really be very, very conscious about now real estate and kind of offices they're making, kind of space they're creating. So that fixed cost, and of course marketing for some time is going to change the route. Not for a very long time, for at least for next 1 year, yes. And personally, as a leader, I don't believe in reducing manpower. I believe in keeping the organization lean and raising the productivity of your present manpower, rather than first opportunity sack your people and cut your salaries. So we in BSH, we have not done that. In fact, we have given the highest ever increment and the best ever bonuses on 31st of March. We could afford to do that because we've kept our organization that way. As a leader, I completely do not believe in sacking people and reducing manpower. So it is, it is very imperative to actually plan your organization. What companies, majorly what I've seen in my career, in last 26 years, whatever, that first company starts to build organization, left, right, and center, and there is so much of people, and they keep their tops heavy, they keep their corporates so heavy, and they do not realize top heavy organization is never good. So rather than having people on field and less on top, companies try to make this mistake. So basically we should be avoiding it, and in future we'll see, definitely we'll see. You go to, okay, let's talk about Chai Point, or let's talk about a restaurant. Sometimes I really wonder why there are 5 guys in a black coat standing there doing, they're actually doing nothing but, making gestures to make people sit. So there are unnecessarily staff I see at so many places. Okay, so it is better we keep it lean and let person justify his job and do a 2 people's job, a 3-person's job, and make his position secure. Of course, it is in the leadership hand. So, we in BSH, we believe in lean organization, a very lean organization, no unnecessarily fancy designations and no unnecessarily, but when the time comes, this is the testing time, when the time has come, instead of sacking people, we have given the highest ever increment and the best bonuses in last 9 years, so that people were so surprised and team is so supercharged that I do not see any reason that post-COVID, why my team will not deliver. So leaders have to think this way now.
Yeah. So one of the things is about, we have seen that a lot of the retailers are now going, they are sending you messages on WhatsApp, or they are saying deal with us through e-commerce. And, that's the mood right now. How is this going to change the consumer shopping behavior, both across the country, not just in mega cities, right? How do you see these changes happening?
There are 2 things I would like to add. One, there is no need for brick and mortar stores or the mom and pop stores to go berserk that they'll die. They'll never die in India. Okay, we've seen it in recent lockdown time, how Kirana stores have just come back. Okay, so the only change, what they need to do, which they were not willing to do, even the biggest of the chain stores of the country, that they need to develop their online capability of delivering things. Instead of getting scared from Amazons and Flipkarts, they should be developing their skills and capabilities, and they have to also change their organization to be a more online friendly organization. Let's talk about, let's say, Reliance or a Croma or a Vijay Sales or any big partner. Okay, so they are now thinking and developing their online delivering capabilities. Okay, I was so surprised that people order chai on online, so that shows that India is a great country. Okay, so our internal consumption is so good and so big that there is no need to get scared of online. You need to develop your online capabilities. That will solve the problem.
Yeah.
Online trend will go up. That's inevitable. That's unstoppable.
I just want to second what, sorry, Neeraj, go ahead.
And Amoli, can you also add how you think the consumer journey is changing? May not be now because there is sure, either of you, yeah.
I have 2 interesting questions. One to Amoli, that do really people, order chai online? Then how do you make sure it is delivered fresh and hot? Because I've never done it.
So you've given
because
me
I used to go to Chai Point in Gurgaon very often.
Amalik, you have to spend ad campaign. Here it is. Your 30 seconds.
You've given me a perfect plug to really talk about the company, Neeraj. You know, so yeah, so essentially, you know, frankly, chai has been delivered in India since ages. I remember in my past life going to Reserve Bank of India in Bombay for a meeting, and I used to work at a tech company then, Microsoft. So meeting the GM, and I was waiting, and I realized the chai was coming on the lift with me in a polythene bag, which was then poured into a kettle and then brought into the meeting.
In the smallest
So,
possible cup in Bombay.
it was GM meeting, so it was served in bone china, but it came in a polythene bag.
Yeah.
So actually, the delivery of chai in India is a very sizable business. For us, it's a business north of 50 CR a year.
Wow.
It's very significant. And the innovation here is that it's a 6-layer BPA-free polymer which retains the heat for about 65 to 70 minutes,
Okay.
piping hot. So it's like a cardboard shell with you literally assemble the cardboard like a pizza box into a flask, and then that flask is delivered. We couldn't patent it, so now, you know, everybody is using that, but I can assure you that numbers are very, very significant.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So Sunil, I mean, just to kind of give you a sense, you know, what the customers see, I think this whole COVID scenario has raised the importance of communities. People live in communities, demands come from communities, and the fundamental building block of communities are houses or homes, right? So this simple appreciation is the new reality, and companies who can serve communities downright to the basic unit, which is the house, you know, which means Kiryana, as Neeraj said, having the capability to deliver to the household, a chai point being able to deliver food and beverages for a party occasion or for a birthday occasion straight to the flat or the apartment. As Vivek said, you know, a test drive call coming from an apartment and the car waiting below for the customer to come down and try it. That's the key. And India is a massive, massive micro market. I have a dear friend and a mentor who shared this line with me that micro at scale is the new mega. So, you know, it's such a powerful line, and I think the COVID world has made us all appreciate that. But these are big words. Frankly, execution is very tough. It is brick by brick. It is step by step, and we ourselves are learning as to how to go about it. Tech platform is a very, very important. I mean, tech has a big role to play. We have our own tech platform called Fountain. We are in fact in the process of broad basing and releasing it so that companies can ride on it and enable these micro market deliveries. But it's a huge, huge area, but the execution also calls for a lot of basic assumptions to be revisited.
So if I can add two lines, Sunil.
Yeah,
so
please.
I mean, can't agree more with what Neeraj and Amlik said. You know, so on one side we are seeing a larger digital affiliation of customers, but also this increased propensity to shop around locally and more increased awareness of what's closer to me. And this is clearly coming out in the way customers interact with us digitally. You know, there was a time when digital was something which was happening from Bombay, the head office, and the dealers were just more concerned in walk-in customers who come into the store. But in the last 1 month, we've seen a lot of our dealership coming and saying that I've made a Facebook page, I've made an Instagram page, you know, tell me how to manage a website, you know, and tell me how to capture people locally, because customers are telling them that we don't want Tata Motors from Bombay to be connecting with us, but we want the local store to say that I'm here for you. You know, I think this fascinating aspect of localization, but still digitalization, I think this is really interesting.
Farooq, is revenge shopping coming back?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
That's what happened in China, right? When people went and bought a lot of luxury products.
Yeah, somehow Indians are a bit different in that sense.
So, you know,
I could be wrong, but personally don't think so.
So I noticed everybody talked about digital. Nobody spoke about the big elephant in the room, which is television, right? Which has seen a huge surge in growth. I remember seeing one automotive ad, it was for BMW. And I thought that was smart branding because it's the best time to advertise. You have maximum people and probably pricing
Minimum.
was not minimum, but would be far more for less clutter. There was very little clutter, right? So I'm just trying to understand, is your mix going to change for any of you very significantly for those of you who do communicate and promote and advertise? And what's it going to be like?
For the short time, if you ask me, definitely yes. But down the line, 2 years, 3 years, it will come back. But for next 1 year, definitely, because it's very simple. Sunil, TVC is very expensive. Okay,
Yeah.
the prime time is very expensive.
Yeah.
And best of the events are not going to happen now. And when you said it is not cluttered, but at the same time, consumer memory is very short. If you will advertise, okay, spend monies because rates are not going down. Rather, they're going up because the television viewing and TRP has gone up. And you are amongst, lockdown. So you're not going to buy that, right?
Sure.
So that money for me is a complete waste. So rather, the consumer behavior is changed. For next 1 year, our spend is going to definitely change from TVC and print to more on BTL and digital. So on-store activity maybe and digital, because every kind of consumer is now digitally connected, whether it is a youth, whether it is middle-aged, and whether it is our parents. So all three have their own WhatsApp communities and groups. So our definitely consumer durable industry, I see it is changing for sure for next one.
Anybody wants to add? Because I've got to hand over to Deepak then.
Yeah, I think we didn't speak about television because we had to bring in the relevance of newspapers, because I see a little bit of a doubt in terms of how the newspaper business is going to go ahead with all this. And I think the availability of PDFs and kind of shot themselves a little bit in the foot when content is available free. But yes, largely more digital spend. And from my perspective, maybe the share of newspapers might shift to television is what would be my quick response.
Farooq, any change you noticed with your clients?
No, I don't think television is going to die.
It's not going to die.
Even over the next 1 year, you will see in the next 2 months a big upswing there. Because clearly, there's no other better medium to reach the masses. And even right now, a rerun of Mahabharat.
Made Doordarshan #1 in the country.
Yeah. So clearly, if you want a mass reach out there, there's nothing to beat television.
The question is not about television popularity. The question is affordability of the organization.
Yeah.
If you want to have measures and not sacking your people and reduce other costs, so best way is to get cost which are
change your mix.
That's what I'm referring.
It boils down to the cost per reaching a particular viewer.
I agree.
The cost per viewer which matters, and digital is not cheap. Let's face it, it's not cheap.
But as compared to TVC, it is pretty cheap.
No,
it's not. Okay, so we have to hand over to Deepak. We couldn't take all the questions. I'm sure they'll arrange for some of the questions to come to you because they are targeted at certain specific domains or companies. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here on a Saturday. Stay well, stay healthy. Let's keep our fingers crossed for better days and for the lockdown to be lifted and for India to return to normalcy. Thank you, Deepak, for having us all here.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you, Deepak.
And Neeraj, I can only say, please reduce the time frame of the advertising because that's a business we survive on.
Yeah, I know you are coming to it. Yeah. So instead of 30 seconders, we have to shoot to 10 seconders or maybe something like that.
Sunil, thank you very much for a great moderation. I think it is never easy to moderate a panel on a digital screen, but I think you did a fantastic job, a very good job.
Yeah, I must say that.
Great insights, extremely engaging, and for the very first time in a long time, I would say that no one knows what the future holds, and not even the experts. So let's make the best what we have. And just a small thing that came to mind. I was having a chat with a CEO of a large retail company, and I actually asked him that everybody's talking about digital and digital and digital. Is this how it is going to span out? And he said, yes, while the digital is a universal term, but brick and mortar is something which a consumer would look for a touch and feel at this point in time. He's going to get tired of this digital very soon, and he would like to go down to a brick and mortar place to touch and feel these things. And Vivek, now we know the secret of your eternal youthfulness by running 25 kilometers. Yeah, that's outstanding. I remember Karan Bhatia was on the show a couple of weeks back, and he spoke about taking a walk in his balcony for 15 kilometers in a day. So one notion you guys have cleared up, that the Bombay houses are not small anymore, and you can actually 5 kilometers.
There's also a corridor in the building.
Create a track out there. And one very interesting thing which I noticed, Neeraj has been hiding his tattoo in his formal shirt. So today that's got revealed. So, and Amleek, we know that you enjoy the water drinking in a beer mug. So that's also quite interesting. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for all this, and look forward to seeing all of you.
And to the participants, and to all the participants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
300
you.
plus. Thank you. And look forward to seeing you all on next Saturday with another set of experts on the revival strategy. Till then, thank you very much. Goodbye. Namaskar.
Bye,
Stay healthy.
thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Nice meeting you all. Bye.
Bye bye. Nice meeting you. Bye.
Nice meeting you.